The king pointed his finger and shouted, "Take him away!" The soldiers grabbed the young traveler by both arms. But something strange happened. The prisoner didn't fight. He didn't beg. He didn't cry. He simply smiled. The king became angry. "Why are you smiling?" he demanded. The young man looked straight into his eyes and quietly said, "Because one day you will thank me for this." The entire court went silent. Even the soldiers stopped moving. Because nobody spoke to King Azhar like that. Nobody. And yet, this prisoner did. What the king didn't know was this: the man standing before him had already changed his fate.
Long ago, in a kingdom surrounded by thick forests and mountain roads, there lived a ruler named King Azhar. He was powerful, rich, feared. His palace shined with gold. His army was the strongest in the region. But there was one thing he didn't have: trust. Years earlier, people close to him had betrayed him. Friends lied. Advisors cheated. Even members of his own court wanted his throne. So the king built walls, not around his palace, around his heart. He stopped believing people. Every stranger became a threat. Every smile looked suspicious. And every traveler entering the kingdom was questioned. That was the law. No exceptions. Then one autumn morning, a young traveler arrived through the forest road. His clothes were dusty. His sandals were worn. He carried no weapon, only a cloth bag and an old journal. His name was Rahim, and he had no idea that his life was about to change.
Rahim entered the market peacefully. Children were playing. Merchants were shouting prices. The smell of bread filled the air. He smiled. It reminded him of home. But before he could take another step, soldiers surrounded him. Steel armor, sharp eyes, hands on swords. "Who are you?" one guard asked. "A traveler," Rahim answered. "Where are you from?" "Far away." "Why are you here?" Rahim paused. Then he said softly, "I'm looking for someone." The soldiers exchanged looks. That answer made them suspicious. Within minutes, he was taken to the palace. People whispered as he passed. Some pitied him. Others avoided looking. Because everyone knew one thing: when the king lost trust in you, very few returned. King Azhar sat on his throne. Gold covered the walls. Silence filled the hall. Rahim stood before him. The king stared. "You came from another land," Azhar said. "Yes." "You carry no weapon." "No." "You travel alone." "Yes." The king leaned forward. "Then tell me, who are you searching for?" Rahim looked down for a moment, then answered, "My older brother." The room became still. "He disappeared years ago. I've searched villages, cities, roads, borders, and someone told me he might have passed through this kingdom." The king watched him carefully. The story sounded real, too real. But trust did not come easily. So he gave the order. "Keep him under watch." The soldiers stepped forward. And that was when Rahim smiled. The king frowned. "Why are you smiling?" Rahim replied, "Because sometimes the road that feels wrong leads to the right place." The king remembered those words, even though he pretended not to. Rahim was not thrown into a dark prison. Instead, he was kept in a guarded room near the palace gardens. Every day, the soldiers watched him. Every day, they expected fear. But Rahim remained calm. He helped the gardener, fed birds, repaired a broken water wheel, even shared stories with young guards. Slowly, people began liking him, and that worried the king. One evening, Azhar walked through the garden secretly. He saw Rahim sitting beneath a tree, writing in his journal. The king asked, "What do you write every night?" Rahim answered, "People." The king frowned. "People?" Rahim nodded. "The good ones, the kind ones, the ones worth remembering." The king laughed quietly. "You still believe people are good?" Rahim looked at him. "Yes. Because if I stop believing that, then I lose more than my brother." The king had no answer. A few days later, smoke rose beyond the northern woods. Fire. The forest was burning. Panic spread through the kingdom. Villagers ran. Animals fled. The wind pushed flames closer. The king ordered soldiers forward, but the roads were blocked. Confusion grew. Then Rahim stepped ahead. "There's another path," he said. The king looked at him sharply. "How do you know?" Rahim opened his old journal. Inside were maps, notes, travel routes. He had crossed those forests before. The soldiers followed his directions. Families escaped. Homes were saved. The fire never reached the town. That night, the king stood alone outside the palace, watching the quiet sky. For the first time in years, he questioned himself. Maybe not every stranger was dangerous. Maybe not every unknown face carried betrayal. The next morning, King Azhar walked into the garden. Rahim was already there. The king placed something on the table. An old metal pendant. Rahim froze. His hands trembled. It belonged to his brother. The king spoke softly. "Years ago, a traveler saved my life during a storm. He left this behind." Rahim's eyes filled with tears. "It was him," he whispered. The king nodded. He spoke about a younger brother. He hoped he would never stop searching. Silence filled the garden. Then the king said something nobody expected. "You were right." Rahim looked up. Azhar smiled faintly. The road that felt wrong did lead somewhere important. For the first time in many years, the king trusted again. And the traveler who arrived as a prisoner left as a friend. Sometimes the person we fear the most is the one carrying the answer we've been waiting for.